Hello, kia ora, g'day, I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your 7-day Australia forecast, taking us right through until Sunday and also covering a bit of today as well. Obviously, talking about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and how the start of the year is kicking off. This is our final video for Australia for this year, and it's our final one for the next couple of weeks. We don't return until Tuesday, January the 14th. Let's now have a look and see what is going on. This is the wind energy map. Now, quite important at the moment with the bushfires burning, especially the ones in Victoria, in the Grampians at the moment. Now, the good news is that the winds are easing back. The bad news is that it's looking very dry at the moment for Victoria. Slight westerly breeze, but the colour shading on this map shows the windiest weather is definitely south of Australia at the moment, and just a little bit of it inland up here north of Alice Springs. That's not very much. You're talking 20 k's an hour kind of thing. So not overly windy, maybe a bit of a breeze around Brisbane as well, some coastal parts, but most of that windy weather offshore. That is good news if you're battling with those fires at the moment. So here is New Year's Eve. All right, let's take a look and see where the rain is. So we've got some big downpours inland around parts of Queensland. We are going to be seeing severe thunderstorms and potentially inland, especially where you're seeing the purple. That is a possibility of 100 millimetres or more in just a day. So really the southeastern corner of Queensland and through the higher elevation areas, you've got that risk up to about the midway point of getting those severe thunderstorms going into New Year's Eve. You won't need any fireworks when you've got Mother Nature doing it for you. Now into New South Wales, also seeing some thunderstorms. They may become severe, although not as much wet weather there. Bit of a windy northerly coming down to about the ACT, and this is where it's important for Victoria, especially around the Grampians, that easterly wind may start to pick up and become a little blustery in some exposed areas. You've also got a breeze coming off the coast that might be a little bit more southerly focused. So windy weather might sort of chop and change a wee bit. That's not a good forecast necessarily for putting out bushfires. A little bit of wet weather for Tasmania, not much for you. Windy weather carries on around South Australia and exits in the southern part of Western Australia, south of Fremantle. That's where you're likely to be seeing some strong winds at times, and so windy and hot for those of you over in Western Australia. And we do see a few showers and thunderstorms further around the more remote parts from Gascoyne, Kimberley, Pilbara, those areas, and also going up into the top end, could be seeing a few thunderstorms there for you too. Let's go into January the 1st. All right, 2025 kicks off with not a great deal of change from the last day of 2024. We are still seeing thunderstorms and convergence popping up around Queensland, mostly into that southeastern corner, although clearly going up into central areas. We're seeing some severe thunderstorms developing during the day and during the evening, and pushing well inland, going into the outback as well, some of those showers and thunderstorms too. New South Wales doesn't see a great deal of change. Still got a few of those showers going all the way down to literally the Victoria border. I don't know why the weather knows that that's where the border is, because for 2 days in a row, that's exactly where the wet weather looks to stop. Windy weather carries on around parts of Victoria. It could be more of a south to southeasterly, depending on where you are locally. So again, that is not a great forecast to see that windy, dry weather blowing across the state, blowing across South Australia, and once again coming through into Western Australia. Although you do see this low pressure zone forming basically just inland from Perth. That complicates things a wee bit more, but we do see a couple of showers sparking up into the afternoon. Otherwise, quite a large portion of Australia actually looking quite dry. Queensland to me is the area with the highest risk of wet weather, and it stays that way going into Thursday. More severe thunderstorms around Queensland, mostly inland. The coastal areas not quite getting that same risk. So inland areas for the most part are getting that, but it goes all the way from New South Wales right up to the far north of Queensland. You're getting those thunderstorms, and also over here you're seeing them around the Pilbara region, getting some of those thunderstorms forming during the afternoon. The Gascoyne region not getting as many, and then more showers sort of inland. Not a huge amount of wet weather there though. But it is going to be hot, right through to Esperance, that hot weather coming down from the desert, pushing out all the way over to the southern coastline. Meanwhile, high pressure is around South Australia, so dry, and that windy weather in Victoria, sorry to say, it remains, especially inland. Pretty windy, might even be seeing a gale to severe gale from about the ACT southwards as a result of a bit of a squash zone there between the high pressure south of you over water and the lower pressure forming inland here, and those severe thunderstorms carry on around Queensland from Thursday and going into Friday as well. The hot weather also pushes down around South Australia. Hotter day for you on Friday. And the windy weather around Victoria eases back a little bit, going through towards Friday, perhaps tilting a bit more northeasterly now as a small area of low pressure sits over Tasmania, but because it's basically with high pressure, I don't think we're expecting too much there. Coastal showers in the east. In fact, you're really noticing just how wet the eastern side of Australia is as we go through in the days ahead, and we might be seeing here on Friday some of those severe thunderstorms, or at least just rain and downpours, really pushing into coastal areas coming off the sea. So not necessarily forming inland over the hills and the plateaus this time, could be further of a coastal issue. So for the holiday makers, perhaps not the greatest forecast there for you. This coming Friday and this Saturday, those wet easterlies carry on. Thunderstorms, downpours. Keep up to date with the Bureau of Meteorology. There may be a few warnings issued as a result of that around Queensland. But again, you go further down into New South Wales, it breaks apart. Perhaps a few areas of windy weather. Could be a little bit windy in Sydney. I don't think it'll be cold though on Saturday. You've got that nor'wester starting to crank up. Hot in Adelaide as well. Windy in Perth. You've got those strong easterlies carrying on. Maybe a couple of showers in there. High pressure though coming out of the Indian Ocean, so don't expect any great amount of rainfall for you. And Victoria stays dry. The winds do ease, but that heat really does start to lift up on Saturday. And it's pretty calm in Tasmania as well for you. Really not a lot of activity happening for the rest of Australia, just a few thunderstorms, isolated ones though, for the top end. Okay, our final map for Sunday, or at least our final forecast map, shows strong to gale force winds over the southern half of Western Australia. There could be some thunderstorms or just some showers forming as a result of that, maybe around Esperance there on the coastal side. Windy and hot for South Australia too. Maybe gale force winds kicking in there. So the fire risk is going to be extreme in a number of places, including Victoria on Sunday, where it is still windy again and dry. And we may be seeing that heat pushing right across New South Wales. It's mostly dry, same with the ACT, but you could just be seeing a few afternoon showers forming as we go through the day. And once more, it's Queensland seeing the bulk of the wet weather. Coastal areas, again, you're going north of the Sunshine Coast for most of that wet weather, and in fact more up around Cairns and places like that as we see those easterlies coming in off the Coral Sea, producing some thundery weather. And pretty dry out in the Tasman as well for Lord Howe Island and Norfolk Island, although there are a few systems moving around there. It's still kind of like a December weather pattern really in the Tasman and Tasmania, the Tasman Sea and New Zealand. Those areas are sort of caught up in what feels more like a December forecast. So to make sense of the rain, here is the 7-day rainfall map. And so it's Queensland standing out with the wet weather. You're seeing the shading here, inland areas, north of Brisbane though. Brisbane itself doesn't look overly wet, but you go north of Brisbane, south of Cairns, those are the areas seeing the greatest totals, and they are between 50 and 100 millimetres over the week ahead. Some of that pushing into New South Wales, where you're getting 10 to 30 millimetres in that top northeastern corner. But elsewhere, you're really not seeing a lot of wet weather for this time of the year. Normally, I would be expecting to see more rain forming in the top end. But for now, a lot of that tropical energy is still north of Australia, so not seeing much rain. And the problem here, Victoria, South Australia, possibly getting no rain at all, or some parts of it, for the next week ahead. So that fire risk is not going to change. It's going to get more extreme as we go through the next 7 days. By the way, just sort of a sneak peek for the next couple of weeks ahead, we are certainly seeing more wet weather coming through to the eastern side of Australia, but more highs tracking down to the south as well. So a few things to keep an eye on. Like I say, this is our final video of this year for Australia. We're back again on Tuesday, January the 14th. I said Monday the 13th the other day. It's going to be Tuesday the 14th of January. That will be our next Australian video, unless something big happens like a tropical cyclone. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that's been posting comments. We get more feedback from our Australian videos than we do for our New Zealand based ones, and considering I'm based in New Zealand, that's a little surprising, but I guess Australia's got a much bigger population. But thank you for all the feedback, the support, the challenges, the local information you give me, pointing out where we get the odd place wrong, the way we say it, and just sort of the local information you've been feeding to us. It has been really, really awesome for us. We're really enjoying doing these Australian videos. We're looking to do more. We're a very small business, smaller than your local cafe, and we're running up there against the Bureau of Meteorology and other government agencies, although at least in Australia, the Bureau of Meteorology isn't commercial like our ones in New Zealand. New Zealand's got 2 government forecasters and they're both commercial. So Australia's a different market for us. We have a lot more freedom over there to do what we do. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported us, given us money on YouTube, and just the comments as well. Whether you love what we're saying or don't like what we're saying, I really appreciate your feedback. Have yourselves a great New Year's Eve, a great New Year's Day. Stay safe. Be careful with that fire danger. Be careful in the waters. Swim safely, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks from now.